Boom, boom. Okay. Okay. This is Bridges for Music. First off, we at the Bridges Academy would like to thank Pioneer for their involvement in this podcast. Introducing Adam Beyer, the renowned Swedish techno producer and DJ, founder of Drumcode Records, delivering cutting edge releases and a platform for some of the most talented artists in the genre. Get ready to experience the electrifying force of Adam Beyer. So, welcome to Bridges for Music Academy. And I'm really, really excited to just pick your brain a bit on just you and who you really are outside or behind, like away from the
Okay,
decks.
thank you very
And
much. Nice being here. Yeah.
yes, and just get to know you a bit more. We appreciate everyone who comes through these amazing doors and draw a lot of inspiration from you. So, first off, I'm just going to get into it. What advice would you give a younger Adam?
Oof, that's a tough one. I would probably, um, I mean, I'm quite a workaholic. Maybe I would advise myself to have given me a little bit more time to breathe and consider my mental health at some points throughout my career, because this is in this industry. Once the wheel starts turning and it spins fast and you're going full force. I mean, I've been loving it, but yeah, it has also sometimes been quite testing with all the traveling and the different things you go through. So I would maybe have taught myself that from an early age. Also to keep fit, keep your body in shape, because your mind will follow. So.
Okay. What would you kind of what made you, inspired you from a young age? I know we had a conversation during a tour of you speaking about being in a space like Bridges since the age of 11, I think it was.
Yes.
So what inspired you at that young age to be so definite in knowing that I want to be a musician?
Well, yeah, it started earlier than that actually. I started to buy records of vinyl at the time when I was 5 already, and I wanted to become a drummer first of all because I was into like rock music. That was my
Okay.
first love at that age. I mean, this is mid '80s we're talking, or even early '80s, '81. But then I moved. I was living in a suburb, Stockholm. I moved into the center, and the kids there were listening to hip hop and house music that just started to emerge. Like we're talking late '80s now. Like, and there was a DJ on the Swedish radio who he was mixing the music, which was not rare back then, but it was kind of a quite new art with like beat matching and
Yes.
it wasn't like the regular DJ back then would have a microphone and change the record kind of thing. But dance music and house music was just starting to happen. So he had a radio show on national radio, and he would do it in the big studios at the radio. So he had like access to all these like effect machines. So it was pretty advanced for the time, and it blew my mind. So I was listening to that every week. Like, I mean, obviously no internet and things like that. So you had to sit and wait the whole week for the next show, and you listen with big ears and recorded it onto cassette, and then you would listen to it the whole week.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just loved it. I just knew. And at the same time, the DJ was starting to make an appearance in pop culture with Run DMC, Public Enemy. Like I also started to tap into black music more, mainly hip hop, but then also house music, and so I was very inspired by the whole thing. And show mixing, I was practicing a lot of scratching and things like that. The DMC World Championships, and I was watching those videos. So yeah, that inspired me, and I said I'm going to be a DJ.
Wow. At such a young age,
Yeah, yeah.
it
I
just
told my mom, and it wasn't even a profession really back then.
yeah.
Like you wouldn't. It was not like It was nothing like a superstar DJ or anything like that. It was just pure love for the music. I was obsessed. I just bought records with all the little money I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. The obsession kind of drove you
Yeah.
to become this workaholic in terms of the music. Because it just attests if you're like a workaholic now and you really were doing that at 11. So I can already imagine what you're doing on a daily basis to ensure. And this is going to go into my next question, like what differentiates you from other producers as well and DJs? Like what makes you stand out, do you believe?
I think today, I mean, in the past, that like the art of mixing was part of it when we played vinyl. That was a craft in itself. It's difficult to play vinyl, and I used to use 3 or 4 turntables, and so that made me kind of special back when I started in a way, and I was playing a certain type of techno. These days, most people can actually learn how to mix quite fast. So it's more about the selection of the music and the journey you bring the people on, because you have all these tools now on the CDJs, whatever. You can sync them. You
Yeah.
see the BPM. It's a whole different game. Like it's easy compared to what it used to be. So I think now you kind of have to find your gimmick or the thing that makes you stand out. In my case, I think I'm very connected to my brand, which is my label Drumcode, which has kind of created a sound for itself and for the European techno scene and the worldwide techno scene, essentially. And these days, I have a number of producers that I work with always, and we share music with each other. It's like a community in a way. And this music is kind of exclusive to us. And because Drumcode is quite a popular label and have a big following, people want to hear the next releases. And me and my boys and girls are the only one that have those releases. So that kind of makes me stand out, I guess, from the guy who can only access the already released stuff.
Yes.
So playing unreleased music and obviously being able to put everything together and make a selection, maybe do special edits and mashups and whatever it is of those tracks.
Yeah.
For example, we might have a big hit on Drumcode, but then we put an a cappella from something else over it that only we play, things like that.
Yeah.
You just got to make yourself unique and have music that other people don't, and surprise the crowd. And
Yeah. It's amazing that you did start Drum Cult because we need and we always just need more people to create more spaces for creatives to be able to be recognized, and obviously taking your name and putting it onto that, anyone that you work with from that aspect would get shine. I just wanted to ask, with understanding up and coming artists, I believe, how often do you think producers should be releasing music or new music? Like, do you wait for a really good tune and then bring it out, or like have a good tune, release it amongst your close connection, and then have them play and see how it is, or just keep releasing music?
it's a very good question, and I think, I mean, it's kind of a philosophical question because it depends so much who you are as an artist and what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would say if your goal is to get as big as possible and recognized, if that's the goal, you should probably wait until you have. I mean, one single track can do more than 100 mediocre tracks. One single big track can do 100 times more than 100, mediocre or normal tracks. So
Yeah.
from that point of view, I would say it's better to really that quality goes over quantity. But if you're making music for the sake of art, and there's an intention and a concept behind your music
Yeah.
that's not made to reach as many people as possible, but to tell something about your story or about whatever it is that you want to express, I think only you can decide to pace them, because it's about your storytelling and about who you are as an artist. So,
Yeah.
It depends what you want to achieve.
Yeah. And like where you're at in your career, I guess.
Yeah. But maybe, I mean, I think maybe a combination of both. Like the best way to maybe get those more conceptual pieces out is to maybe make something that's a bit more accessible so people recognize your name, and then you can drip feed them with other stuff in between. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that works. I'll take some notes for myself as well. And then just moving on to your kind of, I guess, what motivates you and what inspires you. Who is your favorite producer slash DJ
Oh,
globally?
that's a difficult one as well. I mean, it's been
And it can't be you.
Of course not. I would never say that. But it's changed over the years a lot. And, when it comes to now, maybe because of my age, I respect a lot of people. I go and listen sometimes and I see them on stage and play with a lot of people. But when I started to go out, I was at the age of late teenagers, and they were the world to me. I identified with them. I was very inspired, and the big names that are still around today, actually, that had a massive impact on me in my early years was people like Sven Bath, who's German, Carl Cox from the UK, Jeff Mills, Detroit, and maybe Laurent Garnier as well to a certain extent. Richie Hawtin. It's the pioneers basically of the scene, of the kind of techno that I came from. Today, when it comes to techno, I think for example Amelie Lenz is doing really well. I always love listening to her sets because she's keeping the energy from where I remember it. I mean, I'm actually not playing as hard as she does anymore. I've moved a little bit in a different direction, but I always enjoy her sets. But there's so many. The list is so long, and sometimes you hear someone and you get blown away, and the next time,
Just continue changing as you consume music.
If you want to listen to these conversations live and have access to this incredible community, you can join us at our physical campus, the Bridges Academy in Langa, South Africa. A revolutionary learning space where you will find courses on music, entrepreneurship, film, DJing, and much more. For more information on how to apply, visit bridgesacademy.org.
And then in South Africa, sorry to put you on the spot there, but do you have any favorite DJs or producers in South Africa?
I mean, I met Black Coffee, obviously, and I think that's the only one I've heard playing live. I've been seeing him in Ibiza a few times.
Yeah.
And I think he's an incredible DJ.
Yeah.
When he's on form, he smashes, he blows my mind. What he does. So, and I think Temba is from
Temba, as well.
I played with him a few times as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, those would be the two I know and that I've seen, and I've also played music for myself. So, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, I do play those kind of sets also, like more housey and melodic, or Afrobeat, melodic, tech house in that region. Yeah.
Okay, that's really nice. Yeah, Timba and Black Coffee are also really good friends of the Academy. So, but yeah, I wanted to know, is there any artist that you've really wanted to work with and you haven't had the opportunity yet to kind of work with, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads, but I mean, I just did something with someone who I wanted to. I did something with him in the past, but it's the first time I'm producing solo with him, and it's Green Velvet from Chicago. And we just did a collab. I did the music, and he's done some vocals for it. It's going to come out in April. Super proud of that one. Big fan, and he's kind of a legend. He did
Congratulations.
Percolator back in '89, and been killing it since. He brought the whole Chicago scene and that sound, which is still close to my heart.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a big thing for me. Apart from that, I don't know. I'm really happy to these days to. I mean, I actually produce more again than in a while, but I'm still more of a mentor to my producers now for the label because they have more time than I do.
Yeah.
I play a lot, and then I also have kids, but I'm trying to also get find space now to produce more again and to be more creative. 'Cause
Yeah.
only DJing sometimes can get a little bit sterile. I
Yeah.
think you need both.
Both, yeah, just have that balance.
Yeah.
Speaking of balance and incorporating different things, what do you enjoy doing outside of being in the studio or being behind decks for fun? So what else do you do rather than the music aspect for fun?
Sports. I mean, I love to move. It makes me feel good. And the older you get, you realize that you have to do it to keep your your keep you happy, you know. So
Yeah.
you know, I work out a lot. I live in Ibiza where there's a lot of nice nature. I love hiking, play paddle, cycling, things like that. I also love skiing.
Skiing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Sweden, so I
Oh.
grew up in the snow.
So this weather is lovely for you, even though it's raining for us, but for you it's like, oh, this is nice and chill.
Now I live in Ibiza since 6 years, so it's
Oh,
similar.
okay.
Ibiza is it's quite hot, you know. It's
Yeah.
in Spain,
Oh, okay. That's
so
cool.
I'm kind of used to
The weather.
warm coast weather,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of South Africa and the weather, I just wanted to ask, have you, so I know you've been here for a very short time, but like, what are you noticing that you feel like when you leave and go back home or go back on tour, you might miss?
first of all, the first thing I noticed when I got here is that the people that I've met so far has been very friendly, and there's a quite laid back friendliness that is a bit more rare in certain parts of the world these days. I can find. Feels like people are pretty chill, but I mean, I've been here for 4 days. But you know, I've had a lot of very nice encounters so far with people. Like,
Yeah.
so the mentality of the people, in terms of nature and that, I always like when the skies are open, you know, and it's a bit like that in Ibiza. In Sweden, when I grew up, it's a lot of like you have clouds over your head a lot,
Brave,
like
yeah.
in England as well. You know, that feeling kind of makes you a little bit. So I love the openness and the coastal views and the mist coming down from the mountains. For me, like it kind of describes feelings I get when I listen to certain types of music. This epic
Yeah.
music, and this
Yeah.
landscape is very, very much like that. So I get those kind of epic emotions
Feelings,
coming in and
yeah.
driving along the coastway and stuff. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people have described that as well,
Yeah.
like the weather and the music kind of having a
Yeah,
connection.
of course.
And then I just wanted to ask as well, who do you like, what would it mean for me, for example, to have a feature, for someone to collaborate with you? What do you need to see in that person?
I think I've always, I mean, with my A&Ring for my label and the stuff I do, I always just follow my gut. If I feel something and hear something and think that I can do something, I do it. It's always been like a natural kind of just feeling that I have if I should do stuff. So I'm not really looking at parameters or if you're, you know, it's more just about a feeling.
Okay. And would you prefer, it's just like a two-type question, label or DIY?
What do you mean?
Like,
I don't fully understand.
like as an artist and you want to get out there and be a musician, do you prefer label, like being under a label, or do it yourself, independent?
That's also a good question. I mean, I think being under the right label with the right people can be very good because you then come into a family where if people are like-minded and you know you can get a lot of help and inspiration, and also there might be ways of giving you, if for example like my label, we're doing a lot of label showcases. I mean, these days even festivals, it's gone really big, but for years we've done label showcases and nights around Europe and the world, and helped a lot of quite new artists to have their careers by, you know, booking them into those quite big festivals and giving them slots So if that's what I think a label can provide, if you're with the right people. On the other hand, you might not have the same control of your music. You might have to wait a year before it comes out. You might have to split your money. So there's other sides of it, obviously. Like there has to be a mutual exchange. If you sign to a label, you have to feel that you get back what you give, kind of thing, I think. Do it yourself, you have full control. And that's why I started Drumcode in the first place when I was young, because I wanted full control. I was doing records for a few years, but I was producing so much. So at the time when the music came out, I was already somewhere else with my music, like 8 or 12 months later, you know, because that's sometimes what it takes for something to get released, especially in the vinyl days. But then I've already moved on, so I wanted to have the control over it and just being able to release exactly when and how I wanted.
That's very powerful, and the fact that you already at a younger age, I guess, thought about that just means how focused and how like you've done your research around what the best way for you to be an artist would be. And then I just wanted to bring it down to here, like the present moment, 2023, right now. What would you say what would you say your struggles are? What are you struggling with at the moment in terms of just being you as an artist?
I wouldn't say I'm struggling, but I'm trying to adapt, and also because the times, especially in dance music, and I love dance music for this, but it's changing rapidly, and right now, being a white male in my midlife, coming from a privileged background, is not the preferred status quo anymore in dance music, which is very good, and I'm embracing this. But I also want to make that change with my label, and we all have to help out and do the right thing, and gender and everything. So we're trying now to rethink the way we've been doing our business, the way we do everything, and find a more equal, fair politics to run the business, and to think about all these things is it's not challenging, but there is a lot to think about, and it's quite hard to change certain things when you've been in the same tracks for so many years. But I love it, and I embrace the way where the scene is going, and I think in a way it's kind of a role model for where the world is going. Like our scene is like before the rest, and that's what I like with dance music. It's so progressive all the time.
Yeah. And I think it says a lot about you to see that as I know you're saying it's not a challenge, but it says a lot about you to recognize that as an issue, as something that you feel like you want to change and you want to see it happen within your vicinity already, because someone else would want to maybe make it a problem of whatever that the world is dealing with. So it means a lot to hear that you're also trying to make a difference within your small
I think we all have a
society.
responsibility wherever we are and whatever we do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, okay. We're gonna cut this part obviously, and I'll just do a crash. So what's your process for dealing with performance anxiety?
Have a shot of tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, awesome.
To be honest, these days I'm not that nervous anymore. I've been DJing for professional, I would say, for 95, but longer, but for so many years, I don't get that nervous. I sometimes have nerves, but it's under control, I think the best you can do, and my best advice to people to have that, is preparation. The more you're prepared, even though you're a spontaneous DJ, you might want to not be fully every track by track or too prepared. You can still be prepared, knowing your music, practicing your craft, knowing your folders. The more prepared even if you're nervous as hell, like if you know what you're doing and you've done it and it's in your spine, you're not gonna screw up,
Yeah.
So that would be my advice.
Okay. And then just to close it off, so I mean, we've spoken a little bit about Bridges for Music, but I'd like to know, had you heard about it before, the academy, and also what do you think about our model here at the school?
Yes, I did hear about it before. I remember when Richie Houghton was here and when he opened, and he posted about it. I thought it was a really cool thing. And then my friend Rocco, who runs Awakenings in Holland, which is a promoter,
Cool.
they are sponsoring the school pretty
Yeah.
heavily. And he's the one who's been sending me email after email saying, you have to go when you're there. So he put me onto this and connected us. Before coming here,
Amazing.
yeah, and he's one of my oldest and best friends in the industry, and I'm one of the residents for Awakenings in Holland. That's
Oh, okay.
we're very tight. That's the kind of sound that. So yeah, that's how I found out about this, and also and what was the second part?
What do you think about the model?
Oh yeah, no, I love the model. I mean, I wish there was something like this when I grew up, because I would have, since I knew that early what I wanted to do, and I was kind of forced through the school system
Yeah.
to sit there and learn about things I've never ever used or I wasn't interested in.
Yeah.
And I was basically already waiting out the time to be able to go off and do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think for kids that has this spark already, to have a place like this, and especially under the circumstances that you are working here, where people come from, backgrounds that are very difficult or difficult, it can change lives. It saves lives. It's and it's such a beautiful thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time and answering so, what's the word? Yeah, we'll think about a word.
Think about a word.
Edit it in. But thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate it
it's
being here.
mind blowing to have someone like you here. If we could show what's happening in our heads and like excitement levels, we'd show it. But like, yeah,
I feel the same. So I'm really grateful to have seen this.
Yeah.
Very inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as we do making them. Remember, if you'd like to attend any of these workshops live, enroll in any of our upcoming programs. To support the work we do, you can find more information on bridgesformusic.org. Please don't forget to subscribe, as we'll be bringing new inspiring conversations soon. Until next time, keep safe.